there, it's Bree Bear, and I am so sorry. Don't hate me. I am so sorry. I got so busy, you guys. It's crazy. Church camp, literally so many things. But I can tell you guys that camp was amazing and that everything that went on for the past couple weeks with me as far as camp went and all of the busyness was totally worth it. And we had 11 kids get saved and 4 kids rededicate their lives to Christ, and it's just, promise you guys, new content is on its way. It's just been a little crazy lately. So let's go ahead and get into books. I wanted to give you guys a quick update on what I've been reading over the past month, what I read in June, and what I've been reading in July. So first, let's talk about what I read in June. The first book I read in June was Lady Midnight by Cassandra Clare. You guys saw this, that I was planning on reading it, that I was in the middle of it, and yes, I finished it. It was a reread for me, still love it. I'm so glad I reread it because I didn't realize how many things I actually forgot about this book. Oh, my hair. So the second book was Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. This goes along with the Harry Potter read-along, of course. Moving on, then I read Lord of Shadows by Cassandra Clare, and oh my gosh, this book ripped my heart out and crushed me utterly. I almost literally cried. I do not actually physically tears cry at books, but Cassandra, what the heck? Why? The next book that I read in June was The Lightkeeper's Daughter by Colleen Coble, and I really did not like this book at all. Like, I thought about doing a review, and then I realized how negative my thoughts were on it, and I was like, I can't even do this. I can't even do it. It was basically just a huge compilation of a bunch of stupid tropes that nobody likes anyways. And it was really tacky, and a lot of errors and mistakes in the writing, things that should have been caught by editing, things that were just overkill or unrealistic, lots of plot holes. It just, and there was like for like the third quarter of the book, I was like, oh, maybe this won't be so bad, and then the fourth quarter of the book started and I was like, oh yeah, no. It's like in the football game when, you know, like the first 2 quarters you're like, we're failing epically, and then the third quarter you're like, oh, maybe they're gonna come back, and then the fourth quarter you're like, oh no, they're not. That was literally what happened with me in this book. The last book that I fully completed in June was Half-Lives by Sarah Grant. This book was one that I got from a friend. It was not at all sci-fi as I thought it was. It was actually a dystopian. What happened was there was like this apocalyptic type thing that happened, and like there was like a virus that was set out through the world, and they were trying to stay protected from the virus, and she picked up some friends along the way, and they all ended up in this bunker together, and a couple of them like were lost throughout it. I thought it was a pretty good concept, but I felt like there was a lot of plot holes, and I also feel that some of the writing was tacky. Like, one of the things that I felt like was tacky was the combining of words that Icy does with her friend, you know, just like putting words together and like making their own like words and stuff. Like the usage of that I felt like was tacky and could have been better done. I also feel like that the dystopian sections were a bit confusing. What you have is like every other chapter switches perspectives from now into the future. And so you have some chapters that are Icy and her situation, and the other chapters are about this guy named Beckett and his situation and his the society in which he lives, which has something to do with Icy, but we don't know what. I felt like it was very inconclusive, like it was just a weak ending. So along with those books during the month of June, I was also listening to an audiobook that was really long, but it was about mindfulness, and it was a great course from Audible. It was alright. I felt like some parts of it were really good, and I felt like some parts of it were very repetitive, and I'm sorry, I feel like my hair looks funky. So we'll just go with it. Alright, so the next book I completed was Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. This is my favorite Harry Potter novel because so many intense things happen in this book. It breaks my heart at the end, of course, but it is so good. There's just so many things happening. The only thing that I am sad about is the fact that there's no Quidditch, but honestly, I'm okay with that because I feel like a lot of times with the Quidditch matches, they make it like, the way J.K. Rowling wrote them, it's like Harry almost always wins, and it's like, thanks to Harry, Harry saves the day, you know? And it's like a little bit overkill that he is like always saving the day even with Quidditch matches, you know? The next book that I completed was actually an audiobook, Minds, Moods, Mouths, and Attitudes by Joyce Meyer, and it's kind of like a sermon series thing, and I believe she's actually written an actual physical book on it, but I listened to the sermons via Audible. And really good. I love Joyce Meyer. She really breaks down to, you know, the basics of things and things that are really relevant to your daily life. And honestly, like, her discussion of the mind is probably one of the biggest things to me that makes her stand out. Is that she talks about how you think, and, you know, the battlefield of the mind, that entire series, and everything she talks about with the mind, I feel like is super important, because that is the real battle as a Christian. It's like, I mean, if you focus on that battle, then like everything else becomes unimportant. Like, you don't have to like battle other bigger, like considered bigger battles, because like the battle of the mind is really the full big battle that we're facing to begin with, is like our mentality on all these other things. So even if you have other problems in your life, it's probably your mentality that you really need to fix. And so for me, I just feel like that's a huge element that I love, that she talks about it all the time in a lot of her work and everything. And so yeah, the next book that I completed is another audiobook called Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas. I'm so excited to be reading the Throne of Glass series. I want to get them in the physical books also, so when I reread them, I want to read them in the physical form. But I wanted to try out listening to an audio book version of something like for the first time, and particularly something that was like a YA fantasy novel, like what I read most often. I wanted to stick along with the lines of like this Shadowhunter Chronicles and something more along that direction. This one stupid hair. I wanted to stick with something more along those lines, and I had heard so many wonderful things about the Throne of Glass series, but I really enjoyed it. The next book that I completed so far in July is Little Big Lies by Leanne Moriarty. I really don't know if that's how you say your last name, so that's what I'm gonna say. I really liked this book a lot. There were so many good things about this book. Leanne addresses a lot of bigger issues throughout this book. The one thing that I wish she really emphasized a little bit more was why the title is Little Big Lies, because it's not really addressed as fully as I would like. Why I liked the story is because it was very multifaceted. It was a murder mystery. In this one little book, so many different types of issues were addressed, and so many different facets can be pulled from this one gem of a book. I really enjoyed it, and I highly recommend it. The one thing that I will point out is there's abuse discussed in this book, physical and verbal. There is assault in this book. There is also swearing in this book. So if any of those things are a trigger for you or an issue for you in some way, then I would maybe steer clear of this. I can usually look over most of those things as far as like the swearing and stuff like that. I kind of just ignore it. But otherwise, it's really great. Another audiobook, which is The Isle of the Lost. And I don't remember who it was by. I'm sorry. I will put it on the screen. But I wanted to do all of the Descendants stuff because I watched the Descendants movie. I thought it was, you know, it could have been better. There were some holes in it, but I felt like it was a really cool concept, and there's like, you know, some cool stuff in it, and it's fun, and I love Disney, and so I decided I would just go ahead and read the books that are related to it. So I read Isle of the Lost via audiobook, which it's really short. It's only like 6 hours or so. All I know is that it fits in with the books, and I think that's super cool that it's like not like trying to make a movie adaptation of the book, but rather continue the book in a movie form. And you don't actually have to have read the books to enjoy the movie. The book that I am currently reading via text is Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix. You can't go wrong. It's Harry Potter. But yes, that is everything for what I've been reading for the month of June and the month of July. I feel like I'm gonna be doing a lot more reading next month though, because my dad's gonna be going back to work and my sister's gonna be going back to classes. And that is pretty much it. So, thank you guys so much for watching. Peace out, Bear Scouts.
Forget about your worries and your stress. I mean it, bare necessities. That's why a bear can rest at ease with just the bare necessities of life. Yeah, bare necessities, the simple bare necessities. Forget about your worries and your stress. I mean it, bare necessities. That's why a bear can rest at ease with just the bare necessities of life.